In 1898, a 24-year-old Korean prince drank a cup of coffee. He lost 18 teeth that night, and 12 years later, he lost a 519-year-old dynasty. His name was Sunjong, Korea's last emperor. The coffee was laced with opium, and the poison never really left him. His teeth were gone. His stomach was ruined. He couldn't have kids. And the weirdest part? The exact same thing was about to happen to his country. Piece by piece, year by year, until there was nothing left but his funeral. And that funeral? It turned into a revolution. So how does one cup of coffee bring down a 500-year empire? Let me tell you. Sunjong never really had a childhood. He had a crime scene. He was born in 1874, the second son of King Jung-geun and Empress Min. His older brother had died at 5 days old, so Sunjong grew up as the only surviving heir, and his mother clung to him like he might vanish too. He was a sickly kid. Smallpox, stomach attacks, the kind of boy who flinched at loud sounds. And the loud sounds kept coming. At 9, soldiers stormed his palace in the Emo incident. At 11, the Gapsin coup turned his own home into a battlefield. Japanese troops inside, Qing troops outside, his family hiding in the dark. He wasn't a prince, he was a hostage in a crown. Then came the night that broke him. October 8, 1895. He was 22. Japanese assassins slipped into Gyeongbokgung Palace, hunted down his mother, Empress Min, and stabbed her to death in the next building. Then they burned her body in the palace garden. Sunjong was right there. He heard it all. After that night, he stopped speaking for a while. He wet the bed. He couldn't sleep without screaming. And that broke him for the first time, but not the last. 3 years after watching his mother die, he would drink a cup of coffee. And that's where the 18 teeth came in. September 12, 1898. 11 at night. A Russian-language interpreter named Kim Hong-ryuk had just been sentenced to exile on a remote island, and he was furious. So he paid 2 men in the royal kitchen to slip 1.5 ounces of opium into the imperial coffee. Go-jong, the father, was a coffee lover. He took 2 sips, tasted something wrong, and stopped. But Sunjong, 24 years old, empty stomach, always trying to impress his dad, gulped down 2/3 of the cup in one go. He collapsed on the spot, vomiting blood, face white, out cold. And here's what that 1 cup did to him for the rest of his life. His body became a map of that night. Teeth? Gone, most of his teeth, gone for life. The number people still cite is 18 teeth. He wore dentures for the rest of his life. Stomach? Ruined forever. Bloody stools, chronic pain, never ate normally again. Children? He'd have none. 2 wives, 0 heirs. The poison never really left his mouth. Or his country's. And here's the thing, his own American doctor, Avison, later called him feeble-minded. But open the royal records and you'll see the opposite. The man memorized entire court families at a glance. He wrote logical, sharp memorials. Incompetent wasn't the word was poisoned. While his body was being rebuilt around dentures and a broken stomach, Japan was quietly rebuilding Asia around a single country. His. The man who walked into the throne room that day wasn't Sunjong. It wasn't his father either. It was 2 random guys in borrowed robes. Okay, so back up. In 1905, Japan forced Korea to sign a treaty that handed over all of its foreign affairs. No more embassies, no more voice in the world. 5 Korean ministers signed it. History remembers them as the 5 Yulsa traitors, and the loudest name on that list was Yi Wan-yong. Then, in 1907, Go-jong made one last move. He sent 3 secret envoys to the Hague Peace Conference to beg the world for help. Japan blocked them at the door. One of the envoys, Yi Jun, died there, far from home. Japan was furious. On July 19, 1907, they forced Jung-geun to abdicate. The next day, July 20th, Sunjong was supposed to be crowned emperor at Deoksugung Palace. Here's the weirdest part. Neither emperor showed up. Not Jung-geun, not Sunjong. So they ran the ceremony with two stand-ins. Two actors. A 519-year dynasty didn't end with a bang. It ended with two actors in the wrong costumes bowing to an empty crowd. Then Yi Wan-yong walked out and told the people, "This isn't regency, this is abdication." The crowd burned his house to the ground. Days later, Japan stripped away Korea's laws, courts, and police. On August 1st, they disbanded the Korean army. A battalion commander named Park Sung-hwan left a note. "As a soldier, I couldn't protect my country." Then a gunshot. Then the Battle of Namdaemun erupted in the streets. But if you think that was the most insulting way to steal a country, wait until you see what they did with the royal seal, and who was hiding it in her skirt. October 26, 1909, Harbin train station. A Korean man named Jung-geun pulls a pistol on Ito Hirobumi, the architect of everything that had happened to Korea. 6 shots, 3 of them fatal. Ito dies on the platform. At his trial, An refuses to be called a terrorist. He declares himself a lieutenant general of the Korean Righteous Army, a prisoner of war. Then he's hanged. For 1 second, Korea breathes. Then Japan comes back harder. They send a new resident general, Terauchi Masatake, with one job: finish it. On August 22, 1910, Prime Minister Yi Wan-yong and Terauchi sign the annexation treaty. That same Yi Wan-yong, by the way, had been stabbed in the lung by a young patriot named Lee Jae-myung months earlier, and survived just in time to sign away his country. Sunjong refused to sign. Only his personal seal got stamped on it, which is why historians still argue the whole thing was legally broken. So Japan sent his own uncle-in-law, Yoon Deok-yong, to grab the royal seal. And here's where it gets heartbreaking. His teenage empress, Sunjong hid the seal in her skirt. A teenage girl was the last line of defense for a 519-year empire. Not an army, not a cabinet, a teenager hiding a stamp in her dress. Her own uncle ripped it out of her hands. August 29, 519 years of Joseon. 17 years of the Korean Empire, gone. Japan got the country. What they couldn't get, not yet, was a man who refused to die conveniently. After August 1910, Sunjong wasn't an emperor anymore. He wasn't even a prisoner. He was a King Yi of Changdeokgung, a living museum piece ranked below Japanese royals, above Japanese aristocracy, paid a Japanese salary to exist quietly inside his own palace. He played billiards. He was watched. That was the job. In 1917, the pro-Japanese cabinet dragged him to Tokyo to bow before the Taisho emperor, so Japan could parade him as the tamed last king of Korea. Then, January 21st, 1919, his father Gojong died. Officially a stroke. Privately, everyone whispered the same word: poison. Japanese poison. Weeks later, on March 1st, millions of Koreans poured into the streets screaming for independence. And Sunjong? He went silent. For 10 more years, he just went silent. His family got traded off like furniture. His younger brother, Yi-un, was forced to marry a Japanese royal named Masako. His sister, Yi Deok-hye, was forced to marry a Japanese lord of Tsushima, and her mind slowly came apart under it. And he was still married to that teenage empress from the skirt. She was in her 30s now, watching him die slowly for years. Then, 1924. According to one German journalist's report, a 50-year-old emperor who looked 80, skeletal, coughing, legs grey as ash. He looked like an opium addict. Remember the 18 teeth from 1898? By 1924, that whole body was 18 teeth. When he finally died on April 25, 1926, Japan thought they'd finally buried the Joseon dynasty. They were so wrong. On April 25, 1926, Sunjong's heart finally gave out. 53 years old. The official cause was heart disease. The real cause had been building since that cup of coffee in 1898. Japan planned his funeral for June 10th. They staged it perfectly. Thousands of soldiers and police on every corner. They thought they were burying the Joseon dynasty one last time. And then, at 8:30 that morning, the funeral procession passed in front of Dansungsa Theatre in Seoul. About 300 high school students stepped into the street and started shouting, "Long live Korean independence!" That was the June 10th movement. Hundreds of thousands of mourners in the streets, and Japan's soldiers and police couldn't stop grief from turning into revolt. And then came the will, the one his aides smuggled out to a Korean newspaper in San Francisco, the Shinhan Minbo. He wrote, "I failed to die for 17 years. I became a criminal before my ancestors, a criminal before 20 million of my people. The annexation treaty of 1910 was forced on us. I never agreed to it. My people, strive for your liberation. My spirit from beyond will be with you." He never commanded a single soldier in his whole life, but from inside his coffin he commanded a nation. 519 years, 27 kings, one last emperor. His teeth fell out before his country did. His funeral brought down the silence Japan tried to bury him in. And somewhere inside that coffin, the man they called incompetent for a lifetime finally became something they hadn't planned for. A warning, a signal. Follow Saurium history for the history nobody warned you about. The dead emperors always have one more story left.